conservation that which you just mentioned, and selection of other places for replicating the model. We have arranged so many visits of the school children to the Mangroves area, not only for sightseeing but also for the healing of the area and keeping it much safer for the mangroves to grow. So training sessions for the school children and training sessions for the local communities are also being repeatedly organized by our DMA and by an email. PDMA Pakistan has assisted authorities in Gawad. I'll not touch on the pros and cons of different discussed, I'm sure, in much with the detail before me. What I would like to share with you is that the concerns about authenticity of data remain the main concern for the policymakers. I'll appreciate if HRDM, IUCN, WWF, and other stakeholders who have expertise in the field can get together and DMA will be willing to support to take up some kind of a survey of the mangrove population, their coverage, threats, and possible intervention to conserve. Let's make a project. Let's try to conserve them as much as we can. I'm not sure if there is a university in Pakistan having special research wing on mangroves, some R&D unit. I'm not aware of it. Anyway, there is need to have such centers of excellence, at least in some universities located in the coastal region, especially in Karachi. And I'm sure funding would not be an issue if we introduce this subject at the university level. We could engage our postgraduates carrying out research. Studies could be undertaken of both socio-economical and ecological aspects of the mangrove forestation. The government departments having knowledge and expertise, having a lot of ability, would be more willing to support to come forward. NDMA in its own right feels that unless real and practical steps are taken in this direction, unless we involve local communities, unless we outreach the stakeholders, unless we exercise the properly, the mangrove will remain an issue. The conservation will remain an issue. We need to take a step forward. We need to be proactive, think ahead, plan ahead, invest upfront. That is where our future lies. Working on reducing risks and disasters, our main concern remains the conservation of all ecological balances. And most exposed imbalances are witnessed in the areas around Karachi, Badeem, Thakta, Lasbela, and Gawad. Being the custodian of disaster management issues in the country, I feel obligated to be part of the understanding of the issue and offer whatever support available on behalf of Government of Pakistan to work honestly into this particular sector, not only to save the lives of people living in the coastal region, but also to save the agony that is going to pose challenge the whole nation, even our country. The whole economy of the nation gets at stake if the mangroves fight. Towards the end, I would like to pay special thanks to Human Resource Development Network for having organized a national conference such an important issue. I agree with David Abad that we should have invited some policy makers in Parliament. Nonetheless, the recommendation will be passed on to them. Through your board, also through our board, we can also take up your recommendation and synthesize whether we got a chance. And inshallah, we try to get them on board as far as conservation of mangroves is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nupekpal. All the presentations so far, and now Dr. has already mentioned, and Mr. Javed Jawad has mentioned. I think this brings us to a point to come up to a declaration on this important subject. I would like to announce that HRDN declaration for us now of today's event is that we would reach 1 million people regarding mangroves awareness. So this would be our declaration for today. And to make this happen, I would really like you all to participate. We have a declaration board here that I would like everyone to sign, and we will write the statement up there also. And we would like all of you to participate in this campaign, in this declaration, and that will be the step to begin with. Now, the last guest of honor of today's event, whose presence here is more significant to the International Women's Day as well. Please give a warm welcome to Ms. Aban Margaret Kabarji, who is Regional Director, IUC in Asia, and co-chair of the Regional Steering Committee for Mangroves for the Future program, to share her views on this occasion. Ms. Margaret is known for leading the pioneering work in field of conservation, her presence as the co-chair of the Regional Steering Committee of programs like MFF is the acknowledgement of her work. Ms. Margaret.
Thank you, Fozia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. Let me start first with thanking HRDN for organizing this, but perhaps even more importantly for doing it under the MFF Small Grants. I think that's a really good manifestation of the program and implementation. Thank you also for pointing out that this is International Women's Day, and maybe then leading in again to an MFF aspect. Gender is a very important aspect of the MFF program. I haven't actually seen it being reflected so far in what's coming into the Pakistan small grants mechanisms for the implementation, but I think you can think about it because it's really a core value in terms of implementation of the program. And as you know, that as far as the regeneration of many of our forests, but particularly along coastal strips, women play an enormously important part. And I think in fishing, in a lot of the mechanical aspects of fishing, in a lot of the processing of fish and prawn, they play a very important role in the economy. So I think those might be very good in terms of project development for the next lot of grants that go to gender and women, and that at least will be a tribute then to the fact that this particular program is on the 8th of March. I have, as always, thank you also to Javed for your very kind acknowledgement, Javed. Always a pleasure to serve with you on any panels to do work on organized. Now, of course, the people in our program always put together a very good set of notes on what I should speak at any forum, and they have on MFF. The only unfortunate thing is that all the speakers before me have spoken about everything with women. So I'm at a bit of a disadvantage. So what I thought I'd do is I heard one person after the other, essentially giving you what was in my speech, is tell you a little bit about the story of MFF. And I can do that because I was there at the beginning. And while a number of people have spoken about what MFF is today, I'll take you back to how MFF began. And by telling you the story of MFF, maybe I'll also be able to tell you about what the opportunities are in terms of making this program work for Pakistan. As you know, in 2003 there was a very bad tsunami in Asia. It was and probably is part of a series of disasters that have their roots in what is happening in climate change. It is not confirmed. Even the latest IPCC reports cannot tell you that tsunamis are a direct result of climate change. But we certainly know that the frequency of disasters, the intensity of disasters, and the variability of natural disasters is increasing, and they definitely have a correlation with climate change. And you have the chairman of NDMA here, and what could be more significant in terms of recognizing this particular trend in global change than to have a ministry in Pakistan that actually deals now with the recognition that disasters are going to unfortunately become a part of everyday life. I was at a conference in Delhi a few weeks ago when the chairman of the IPCC, Dr. Raj Choi, said that in the next IPCC report, the two biggest trends that are going to face us are the frequency and the duration of heat waves. In other words, heat waves are going to hit the planet more with greater frequency and greater intensity. And that too is clearly going to be something we have to deal with as part of climate change. And the second thing is that the patterns of precipitation are going to be totally unpredictable. In other words, you will have rain where you never had rain, you will have drought where you never had drought, and it will occur at times of the year when you never expected it. And if you think back over the last 2 years, that's exactly what it means. These are the trends, and so MFF, when you think about it, it originates from, in many ways, from the very unpredictable patterns of natural disaster, which are rooted in climate change. And therefore, a conceptual umbrella within which MFF resides, and you've seen it in some of the talks that came out today, carbon capture, resilience against storm surges, and so on and so forth, is very, very relevant to the survival of this country, our planet, and our lives. And therefore, I think the point about the program is not that it's just about mangroves, although that's very important because it's one of the main ecosystems that it is dealing with. But it's about oceans, it's about climate change, it's about the people who live along our coastlines, it's about our livelihoods, it's about our economies. And it's about, in a sense, the environment that essentially we all have to be very careful of because it's what guarantees our life and our life systems. So back to the Asian tsunami in 2003. After the tsunami happened, you know that one of the measures the United Nations did was to take President Clinton and President Bush, the first President Bush at the time, as ambassadors and representatives of the Asian tsunami. And UNDP then set up a special secretariat where President Clinton and Bush began to start working with countries in terms of what you do as part of post-tsunami rehabilitation. Because the disaster at that point, on this scale, had not occurred. And actually, so far, nothing so big has happened again in the world, which involves so many countries. I mean, you had individual disasters, but nothing as big as this. And that particular secretariat, working with President Clinton, started asking governments and countries what they should do. And a lot of people were asking IUCN, what is IUCN doing? So IUCN, given its combination of being a membership organization for governments and civil society, turned to its members and consulted a number of its member countries. And what they said is, why not develop a program that addresses the issues that the tsunami has raised? Now, in addressing the issues, we could have done two things. We could have done long projects, or we could have tried to develop a program that was really innovative. What we did was the latter, and that is really what MFF is all about. We developed a program that was based around partnerships. And not just partnerships that had to do with governments and donors, because that happens all the time, but partnerships between governments and civil society. And then not only that, because that also happens quite frequently, but partnerships between government, civil society, and the private sector. And that third element is very unusual. Because to bring the private sector in as a partner of the program right from the beginning is quite unusual. The private sector is usually brought in either because you want to lecture them because they're doing something wrong, or you want money from them because you feel you should get it because you're doing something right. Now what we did was we took a different approach in the private sector. What we said is come in and partner us on the running of this program. And that I think has been quite unusual. It's for the greater good.